Hi, Rupert.
Hello.
My name's Clee.
Hi, Clee.
I feel like in the last few people, my question may have already been answered, but I'll go for it anyway. I've been living in the States for a couple of years. I moved back last week. I thought I was coming back to a home that I would come back to, but turns out we didn't. And so I was walking around town on my own. My husband's still in the States, homeless. I have family. I'm not actually homeless. I'm very okay. I have friends and family. I can stay up. I'm fine. We have plenty of money. I'm good. But in that moment, I didn't have anywhere to go. I hadn't actually made plans to stay with anyone, a friend, for a couple of days. And in those couple of days, I felt freer and happier than I have in a long time. Still scared, still lots of emotions, but I was walking around with a smile on my face by accident. And someone said, a couple of people said, an estate agent said, "So where do you live right now?" I said, "Right here." I did, and it was the truth. It wasn't a spiritual thing I was saying. It was for the first time in my life, in my entire life, I live here. And then I started going to estate agents and trying to find a house, and suddenly I got wrapped up in finding a home and being safe and finding security. And that was a week ago, and we have a house to move into in next month, but I find myself still in this. I've lost what was there a week ago, and I'm almost making stories up about, do I need to get rid of everything again? That maybe I need to sit on a park bench for a few years.
No, you don't need to get rid of everything. During those 2 or 3 days, you were just given a little. Many of the very ordinary necessities of life had been taken away from. Not in. I mean, compared to what some people in the world are facing, not in a really extreme way. But by most times, your home had been taken away. You were on the streets, so to speak. So. A lot of the comforts, a lot of the experiences that you normally invest your identity in had been taken away from you. And to your surprise, you didn't feel that you were... you didn't feel any sense of lack. You felt that you were liberated from a limitation, from something that you had associated yourself with or invested your identity in. And to your surprise, you felt light, free. You were tasting your being. You were tasting your being as it is, independent. Our being is completely independent of experience, just as the space in this room is completely independent of the four walls of this room, or the screen is completely independent of the content of the movie. Normally, as you rightly imply, we're so wrapped up with the content of experience, and we derive our identity from the content of experience, that we don't taste our inherent freedom, because our being has been mixed with and seemingly qualified by the content of experience. Now, for these few days, you are tasting your being as it is, not how it was just for those few days, but actually how it always is, although we're not always aware of it, because our being has been mixed with the content of experience. So you were given a sample, like a free sample.
I'll take another.
You don't need another. You don't need another, because your being is still in the same condition now as it was then. It's always been in that condition, but you just didn't notice it because it was so thoroughly mixed with the content of experience. So now you've been given that free sample of the inherently free, light, joyful, peaceful nature of your being. So now you need a home. You need a job, or whatever it is. It's right to don't feel that you have to go through that extreme experience again in order to taste the inherent freedom of your being. You can do that just by closing your eyes, taking the thought, I am, and just going there, tasting it. You can go there now. It's not somewhere you go, as you rightly said to the estate agent. It's where you are. It's where you live. You can always be that. Live always as that. Right now, you can live as that. You can live as that always. That was why you were given. If we can attribute a cause to it, that's maybe not why you were given it, but it was the value, and it's good. You used that. You made very good use of that experience. You because of your openness and your interest in these matters, You weren't despairing. You didn't create a big drama about being out on the streets and not having a home. No, you tasted the innate freedom of your being.
I did actually create a drama.
Okay.
For a
All
very,
right, okay,
but
maybe
for a
you
short
did.
period. But that was the point. It was for a short period. I landed and I was wandering around like, oh my God. And then I saw it happening. I was like, okay, so.
Okay, so that's good. The drama started, but then
It dropped.
you could then, that drama would then, in most circumstances, would have reinforced I, the victim, you could have easily gone in that direction, but you didn't. Something about the experience enabled you to disidentify from your circumstances, and as a result, taste or recognize yourself as you essentially are, and it's joyful. You just felt so free, but your being now is in the same condition. Having had that taste of your true nature, you can go back there any time. You can live as that all the time, and you can still have a house and a relationship and a job. You can still. It doesn't mean giving up all those things. In the past, in some of the progressive past, people would give up everything. There's this very strong tradition of giving up one's attachments and selling one's possessions and leaving one's family and going to live in a cave, physically or metaphorically. It's not necessary. It's not necessary to give up anything. All it is necessary to do is to go to your being. Your being is already unattached to experience. When this building is taken down, the space in this room won't have to work hard at detaching itself from the four walls. It is not attached to them now. The space in this room is already free of the four walls of this room. It didn't become limited when this building was put up. And it won't be liberated from its limitations when this building is taken down. It is inherently free now. Your being is like that now. It has always been free, but we just don't notice it. It's always been free, at peace, and joyful. But we don't notice it because we've allowed our being to become entangled with the content of experience. But even when it seems to be entangled with the content of experience, it isn't. Just like even when the space of this room seems to be defined by the four walls, it isn't. The space in this room is not the space in this room. It is the infinite space of the universe. It is unlimited. Well, your being is like that now. Your being is now infinite, unlimited, free, inherently peaceful, unconditionally fulfilled. You've tasted that. You know what that feels like. That's a sample. You can go back there anytime you like. You can just be that, live as that.
Is it that simple?
Yes.
It's
that simple.
I find myself hearing all the conversation, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it's this complicated.
No, it's that simple.
And last year, I had a whole day of a glimpse, I guess. It felt pretty monumental, but it was incredibly simple. It was, it's this. Oh, it's
That's
this.
right. It can be monumental, as I said to Jim, by contrast with the previous, in contrast with the experience of suffering that preceded it.
Yeah.
By contrast with that, the freedom and the peace of our true nature is monumental. But once you get used to it, it's just your natural state. It's not an extraordinary experience anymore. It's like when you come back from a trip, you've been out backpacking, you've got 60 pounds on your back, you come in from the station, you put your rucksack down, and there's this immense relief. You feel so light and free, and 5 minutes later, you're in exactly the same condition as you were when you first put down there, but you no longer feel immense relief and light. It's just your natural state. You've acclimatized.
Yeah.
So those few days you felt ecstatic and free and light, like Jim did at Garrison in 2019. But don't get attached to the ecstatic nature of the experience. What was ecstatic was the relief in the mind and the body. But your being itself is not ecstatic. It's just this quiet peace. Just make that your new norm.
It's almost like the more I talk about it, the more my mind makes it mean. And actually
exactly,
it's
you're
just
absolutely
like,
right.
Shut up.
You don't. You don't need to talk. You just quietly live it, and if you do that, you will just be a quiet beacon of peace in your community. And you never need mention it until somebody says to you, did you say it was Clee?
Yeah,
Clee.
clear.
Clee. They'll say, Clee, you always seem to be peaceful. Whatever's happening in your life, you just always seem to be quietly peaceful. Why? Well, then if somebody asks you, then you can talk about it. But if they don't, it's not necessary to talk about it. You just be that, and that your peace will just communicate itself subliminally to the people around you. You'll find that people will just like being around. They'll catch your peace like you catch the flu or a cold. You remember my old friend who went to visit a Sufi teacher in London called Irani Tweedy. He was called Simon years ago in the 80s. He went to Irani Tweedy and said, what can I expect if I come to you? He was going to the teacher for the first time, kind of testing her. And he said, what can I expect from your meetings? She said, I will infect you with my happiness. Happiness is infectious. It doesn't need to be communicated by words. It can be communicated with words and suggestions and pathways, but actually it communicates itself by itself subliminally as well. So yes, you don't have to talk about it.
But I want to.
But that's fine. If you want to, that's
Or
also fine. No, but that's also fine. If you want to be more expressed about it and to communicate it in a more direct way, then that's also valid. Find ways of doing so.